Today we're going to show you how to take a seed from a dragon fruit and put it in the dirt.
Get red, purple fingers too. So these plants are really easy to sprout from seedlings. So you could separate them more here, but I don't want to damage the seed. And honestly, I think a little bit of the pulp might kind of help them retain a bit of moisture there. So I'm just going to scoop it out. That's not very smooth. There we go. And just put them onto some toilet paper, believe it or not, because after a little bit of, after you water it a few times, it's just going to dissolve. So you just want to spread out the seeds really well. And the key is don't smush them or pulverize them so much that they break. So again, it's really easy, just kind of spread them out on toilet paper and something like that.
And then isolate them.
That's all I do. So I've seen this done online. I've never done this before, and I am pretty sure it's going to work really painlessly.
What kind was this?
This one is Orejona. So we're just going to do Orejona and American Beauty, and then we're going to explore what to do with the seedlings. We may try to graft them to get a faster growth rate. But I will say that this variety is really tolerant to our area for cold, Orejona is, and American Beauty is the most rapid grower. It grows quickest in our area. So from what I noticed this year. So that's the reason why we want to explore these two varieties.
Are you going to have to keep this really moist?
Yeah, I'm going to water it and keep it in full shade. Thank you. I didn't think about that. So I'm going to water it probably every other day, and I'm going to keep it in full shade in our greenhouse or just outside of the greenhouse under a canopy.
And this will just, you think this will just root into the soil?
And the toilet paper will dissolve. So
okay.
I used some paper towel, and that's too thick, but I think toilet paper will work really well because in a few days it will kind of break apart and dissolve and probably become compost.
Quick update on the video Paul and I made a few weeks ago where we used toilet paper to sprout dragon fruit seedlings, and we'll see if it worked here. We got a little plastic bag over it to create a little humidity, so we've been keeping it moist, and let's see if it worked. And we got two different kinds here. We got the Orejona and we have American Beauty, and it looks like it worked really well. So we got quite a few seedlings. You can still see the toilet paper, and the idea is that you just kind of put a little dirt on it and the toilet paper will dissolve and the seeds will just take off. So we got American Beauty seedlings here, and then the Orejona. So I'd say this method worked really well. It only took about 7 to 9 days for the sprouts to be visible, so it's very quick. And we just kept it in a pretty humid environment under a partial sun. I just kept it on this table here underneath this tree.
Hey everybody, this is Paul from Rare Dragon Fruit. So tonight we're going to talk about different strategies for seedlings. So this one was really successful. This was the pulp was removed off of Orejona, the fruit, and I placed the seeds plain straight up on toilet paper. You can see they're doing really well there. This one, American Beauty, we had more pulp here, so you can see it kind of caused some mold, I would say. And over here we had just seeds, and you can see they're sprouting. Sugar Dragon, we went straight in the soil, nothing else, no support, and you could see that we had a couple, but we only have one now. So what I noticed is the best way to sprout seeds is simply wet paper towel, fill up a plastic bag, and place your seeds on top of that. However, the seeds will stick to the paper towel. So to combat that, I've been experimenting with these little, like, I guess they call them sprouting cells in Home Depot. This one was like $10, this one was a couple bucks. But this one, what I did is we placed seeds directly onto the matrix, and you could see they're doing really well. And then the ones that didn't sprout, we cut the paper towel using that method and placed them in there. So you can see that they're doing really well here. These are zebra here, and it could be Lisa, I'm not sure, but this is more of an experiment right now just to see what type of what's the best way to sprout seeds. And now we have plenty of Orejona, and I think maybe it'll work better if I use a more mature
Yeah, these are definitely bigger.
So I'm gonna try this one here. But again, you got to be really gentle with these. And it looks so easy online, but man, it is hard. I'll tell you, I've done this 5 or 6 times, and I pretty much mess up every time.
It's one of those repetition things. You'll get better.
Yeah, I think I'm just too rough. So, all right, I cut it again. Now, also, I want to cut this again and have a nice fresh cut. So I just cut off a tiny bit. And then now, I'm going to try again. Hopefully, I'll be more successful with the tape. And now, hopefully, we'll be successful. So I want to line them up really well. All right, there's half.
Yeah, just get the first one locked in. Here, let me.
So much harder
let me get a close up of that real quick.
Sure.
There you go. There you go.
The outside of the leaf here.
There we go.
Let's see if we have success.
Nice and gentle. Nice and gentle.
There.
Yeah.
So I'll put a little bit more tape, but again, I think if you put it on kind of the outside of the leaves, it definitely allows more flex and a better connection for the cambium layer from the scion. There we go. So it's looking really nicely matched, and now we just want to bag it for 14 days, 2 weeks, and leave it in full shade. And you'll know right away if it takes or not within, I'd say, a week. If it stays plump, it means it most likely is fine and it took. And if it kind of wilts, it means that it did not take. So there you go. You are going to have more success when you use a fresh, young dragon fruit rootstock cutting compared to using a more older, mature one like this. So again, young to young kind of works best. And then you want to keep it slightly open so it can still breathe, but this will improve the callousing and the healing with this higher humidity. That's the purpose of the bag, is to raise the humidity. So there you go. Let's hope it takes. And that is how you graft a seedling to a sugar dragon rootstock, and this variety is Orejona. So here's an update on our seedlings. It's been a little over 2 months since we planted these when we did our taste test. So we got these from Elk Creek Dragon Fruit, and these varieties are Orejona. We planted them the same day, straight out of the fruit and onto paper towel and toilet paper. So you can see what's left of the paper towel in here, see it? And so we just planted them on top, and you can see how well they're doing. So the difference is that Scott grew his Orejona seedlings outside, so you can see they're thicker, kind of have a little red tip as the temperature gets colder, versus where I grew these in our garage, which is pretty warm. And so you can see the direction. They were the window was here, and so basically the window was here and they were directed towards the light. So you can see these are exactly the same age, and you can see the difference in growth rate. So look at how long this one is. This Orejona is doing really well, and we're gonna graft. We're gonna try to graft some of these. So if you are wanting to graft your seedlings, definitely want to grow them indoor. You're gonna get a quicker growth rate with the warmer temperatures during the winter. Probably in the summer it wouldn't be a difference, but we're approaching December now, and you could definitely see that dragon fruit seedlings really like to be a bit warmer in the evening temperature as it gets colder in this time of year. So there you have it. You could just definitely see the differences. So you can get them to grow pretty quick if you put them in your garage next to a window. Good morning, everyone. We've had some questions and requests for more information on our grafts. So some of them are approaching 8 months old. So let's go show them off and let you know how they're doing. So I'll start off with my oldest one, which is Haley's Comet here, which I like. I really like that rootstock, and my Dark Star. So this was a cleft style graft, but I should have used more of this plant matter, but it was an experiment. It was my first try. So as soon as I saw, I want to say about 5 weeks ago, some growth when it was kind of warm, I saw a little bud popping out, and so I put it in under our grow light, and you can see it's just taken off. I give it a little bit of full sun. I'm starting to introduce it to more sun, I should say, like 3/4 of the day, and it's doing really, really nicely. I almost wish I had like some shade cloth, or we have a greenhouse. I may just toss it in there, but we'll see. But either way, very, very, very vigorous growth, and I find it very interesting. how there's little leaves there and just the shape of it and the structure. So I'm interested to see what happens as it gets taller and longer. Okay, so up next will be our seedling here, our sugar dragon rootstock, which I think is another really good rootstock, but I have had more success with Halley's Comet. So this was an Orejona X seedling on an 1129. So it is exactly 3 months today, and you can see there's 3 beautiful new growth there, and this is the original piece of the seedling. So I didn't know what to do, I just left it alone. You can see it's getting bigger and bigger every day. See, this is our first graft. It's Orejona crossed on 1129. It's an Orejona X seedling, I should say. And you can see my first attempt here, this stem is the original. And so it's never grown, and it's had some growth off the axils of the cotyledons and the leaves down there. I'll show you in a second. And so these are the little side growths off of the main stem. And so I left it alone. It looks pretty cool. And these are the cotyledons here, and these are the axils, all this new growth. So I'm going to prune back that one right there, because Paul Thompson says that when you're growing seedlings in his book, we'll show you a little clip of his book in a second, but he says that when you're growing these seedlings, I have to separate them out and put them with some bamboo and stake them out. But all those really small, fine bits of growth in there, see them in there? That's what you want to pinch off the stem, because you want the growth, the energy to travel up that main stem there. So that's what he recommends. And so I've been doing that on this yellow Pelora seedling graft here. You can see it's doing really well. I'm just keeping an eye on it. And you can see that I've pinched off 1 or 2 already. And it's definitely starting to really take off and grow upwards, and it's really healthy. So again, you want to channel all that energy on a seedling to that main stem, as you can see. And this is a yellow Pelora seedling. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm not going to mess with this today, and maybe later, but I don't want to deal with that today. But I will. I'll show you how to remove this in a second here. So let me get set up. Alright, so first make sure you use alcohol to sanitize your tool. And in this case, I'm going to use just some basic tweezers. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's get it in focus here. And what you want to do is you want to remove this one to promote more growth. Now, I wish I would have just always channeled this energy up on this one, the original stem, but live and learn. So here you go. It's as easy as just getting it and then doing a little twist and pull. And you could probably graft this if you wanted to, but in this case I'm just going to get rid of it. Oops. Let's see. Probably should use 2 hands. There we go. And removed. So that's what you want to do. Pretty it's easier to do them when they're really small. You can almost use your fingers because these spines won't hurt you, but by now these will probably start to get into your skin. So there you go. That's all it takes, and you can see what it looks like now. So I'll zoom in a little more for you, and it will heal up in no time. Hey everybody, I'm super bummed to share that the Argentine ants have invaded my greenhouse and ate several of my plants in the past couple days here. So it occurred overnight, and then this has been about 2 days of recovery for this poor seedling. Look, they even ate the base down there, see it? Crazy. And what's even crazier is it's still bouncing back. So it's got some new growth, so we'll see what happens. So that one was severely damaged. You can see what else they've done here to my Pelora seedling graft. As you can see, several starting to callus over, but definitely it's gonna slow down the growth here. Here's another seedling that just taken, and they took a big bite out of the top. So be careful of the Argentine ants. They will even destroy new growth on your plants. Here's what happened here. You can see I've been spraying with neem oil, and they still don't mind, they don't care about that. Here's an Israeli yellow that had some damage. And then this is very sad here to share, my largest seedling graft, the Orejona X. Now the one in the center is great, it's doing fine, but they did eat the ones on the sides here. So, as you can see, really big bummer. And they all did that in a period of one night. There was just thousands of ants on them. You can see right there. Okay, what else do we have here? Here are two Orejona X seedling grafts. One is pruned. This one is pruned. It's coming in nicely. It's been a few months. And this is my oldest one here. Now, I have not been pruning it. It is an Orejona X. The two are the same age that you just saw, but I grafted this on 11/29. And the other one I grafted in about March or February. So these are really getting big. Again, this is an Orejona X. So unknown pollen source. But when you graft seedlings, they get big really fast, even if there's lots of ant damage, as you can see. They're really resilient. Here's the peg style graft with condor. So we've had some people talk about that, wondered if it worked. Yes, it did. It's wonderful and thick, you can see. We're doing really great. And it did have some new growth in here, but I'm getting a lot of bug damage. You can see that graft is happy. It's definitely a successful union. It's just gonna callus over with time. Okay. Now those last two that you saw are exactly the same age as these seedlings. So these are some other seedlings from that Orejona batch. So you can see the size of it. There's two actually there. I'm gonna separate them today. Versus this. And again, these are exactly the same age. It's unbelievable. All right, a 6-month update on my seedling grafts. They're getting big. Woo! So check it out. I wanted to show you kind of how the unions are, or where they connected. So the one on the left here I grafted November 29th. Today is July 6th. So a little over 6 months, and look at that. Now be aware, you do need to support the new growth. The stems are very thin at the base, and then they just get thick as you go up. So the new growth now is almost like I describe as like a new dragon fruit cutting. Look at that, it's beautiful. So this is an Orejona X seedling, and each of these will be unique because they're cross-pollinated. Now the one on the right is from the same seedling batch, but I grafted it in March. So it's about 4 months old. So you can see the differences between a 4-month seedling graft and a 6-month. In addition, this one, I'd be really careful, or I am very careful when I move it, because you can see this union's not as strong, in my opinion, as the other one. Has the epiphytic roots as well, but it is growing and thickening up in time, so that's great. Now, if you don't support your dragon fruit seedling grafts, that's what's gonna happen. They'll kind of flop down, and that is not what you want. So there you go. It's amazing to see these things grow and develop. Now, if all goes well, the one on the left will produce a fruit and a flower in 18 to 24 months time from when the seed sprouted. So by next year, hopefully, I should have hopefully a fruit and a flower. Good morning, this is Paul, and today I'm going to show you my 8 Orejona seedlings that are now approaching 11 months old. So I've grafted 2 of them, and this one I call Orejona X 8. Here's the original piece of seedling, and it did grow some new growth recently. Now, I put it outside about a month ago on a T-post, maybe 3 weeks ago, next to a Japanese loquat tree, and it's doing great. In fact, it's about close to 5 feet tall, including the rootstock, which is sugar dragon. Now, when I was moving it, I did break it right there. So I do have a few extra pieces that have rooted already, and I'm going to toss them right back into this pot. So you can see it's doing great, and it's only gonna get larger and larger. So this is Orejona X 8, and we'll see how it produces in the future. It may produce a gross fruit, could be excellent. Time will tell, but it's tolerating our climate really well. All right, let me show you really quick those broken parts. So there they are. So they've already rooted, they're doing great. All right, let me go show you the other 7. So this is Orejona X 7, my seedling number 7. Definitely likes to shoot out epiphytic roots. And in fact, I grafted this one a few months later in the spring compared to the winter. So it's not as large as my first graft, but it's doing great. It has lots of great new growth, and this is how I kind of acclimatize them before I plant them outside. So I do plant my varieties in a part sun environment whenever possible, under a canopy of plants. And right now I just tie it up to a fig tree to let it just get used to being out of the greenhouse. And it's been working really well. Now, one interesting thing I noticed on Orejona X7 is that you can see it gets a little wrinkly. Now that could be because of the heat waves we've had recently. In fact, it was 111 yesterday for a while, but you can see it's doing great so far. All right, let me go show you its siblings, or the rest of the siblings, the rest of the gang. Let me go show them to you. So here are the other 6, and they've been in my greenhouse for their entire lives. Now, I have noticed some variability in their growth rates, their tolerance to heat, and I would expect probably their sun tolerance as well. So the greenhouse gets pretty hot. In fact, it was over 112 degrees yesterday at the height of the day in our intense heat wave. And you can see that most of them are doing fine, but a couple of them, 2 and 3, have some damage. So let's look at them closely now so you can see some of the variability that I observe. Now here is 1 on your left and 2 on your right. And you can see 1 needs to be pruned back, but it's very, very vigorous and has 0 damage from that intense heat. We've had some intense heat the past few days, and it's totally great. So that is a positive sign. In contrast, you can see number 2 is a bit more of a dwarf grower in my observations. It's slower, smaller, and it got damaged from the last heat wave, you can see. So I'm interested to see what happens after our intense heat waves, which have been yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It's expected to be 112 today. So I'm gonna say the greenhouse will reach 115 in the afternoon for a short duration. Now, number 3, you can see also has some damage as well, but it's more of an average grower, I would say. So it's doing great, but the damage is concerning. So number 2 and 3, I may not even keep if this progresses like this, because I'm only looking for the very best traits for these plants to thrive in Southern California. So here's Orejona X number 4, and it's the most vigorous of all of the ungrafted ones. 0 damage, really dark green. These are wonderful traits. You can see it's growing like a single branch. I don't have to prune it. It's just a very aggressive grower, although it's got some new growth down there. So I will be pruning these guys back. So number 4 is probably my favorite in terms of what I'm looking for. Now 5 and 6, you can see 5, 0 damage, doing fine. Not, I would say it's an average grower, but it's definitely healthy. Versus number 6, you can see it's not getting that black, but it does have a little bit of chlorosis. You can see the yellowing in there and a little bit of black. Sorry, I guess there is some there. So I'm not too concerned about that. It's also wants to be a single branch, which is a great trait. Although I have to prune that back again, you can see down here. So this one is doing great as well. So I guess right now you can see that I really prefer 4 and 6 and 1, but time will tell. So I'm going to put these guys back in the greenhouse. I want them to be exposed to that little bit extra heat to help evaluate them, so I'll know which ones will grow best in our climate. Because remember, these are hybrids. So the Orejona flower was cross-pollinated, so each seed is going to have slightly different traits, as you can see. Hey everybody, this is Paul, and today I'm going to do a 1-year update. I think it's like 14-month update on my Orejona Cross seedlings. Now, I have a batch of 8, and Scott has some too. And in fact, you could see what they looked like a year ago. This is back in December 2nd, and they were about 2 months old. And so Scott grew them outdoors, and I grew mine in the greenhouse, and they're doing great. So fast forward, here is the largest one grown from seed in the soil, and it's very, very healthy. So this is number 3. Now I grafted 2 of them, so I'll show you those in a minute, but I wanted to focus on just the variability of these seedlings here. So check it out. You can see number 1 does pretty well. It's a decent grower, and I would rate it as above average compared to some of the other varieties here. Now, number 2 is very slow to grow, and all of these were grown in my greenhouse next to each other with the same soil, same conditions. So there's just a lot of variability with dragon fruit seedling hybrids. And these are Hylocereus polyrhizis. So very interesting. Here's number 3. And it did get a little bit of, looks like bacterial damage. It's not rust. It may be related, but it's just, that was heat damage, and it's just kind of stuck around. And they're not getting too much moisture, so I think they're just gonna, I'm just leaving it alone. Or maybe this one's just more susceptible to rot. So this one is a little bit of a concern. I'm not too happy with that one compared to this one, which was number 4, which I showed you, which is very, very large. It's doing great. Here's number 5, a bit of a slower grower, but it's healthy overall. And I did prune this one like Paul Thompson recommends in his book, with a single branch. So you can see I have to prune these back in the future here. So it's really easy. You could actually just pluck them off. You have gloves. And then you just want to be careful because these will grow. I've had a few I leave them in the soil and they'll end up growing, which you don't want. So there. So I'll get these out later. I don't want to bore you with that detail. You can see here, these ones are a little bit thicker on number 6. And the spines will eventually go through my nitrile gloves, but not yet. Can't really get to that one. There we go. Ooh, okay, so there. Really easy to prune off the growth. And number 6 has some bacterial damage as well, but I'm just leaving it alone. So I find it so interesting about the variability of dragon fruit hybrids and just how fast they grow, their rate of growth, their vigor, and their overall plant health. So this one is just an excellent specimen. So this is what you want. So I'm definitely gonna keep this one for sure. All right, let me go show you the 2 I grafted. So here is number 7, and it's been grafted to a Hylocereus undatus rootstock for a year. You can see it's doing really, really well. It's much thicker and more vigorous. Just go up a little quicker. And it's doing really, really great. Now it already is over 6 feet. And I just have it on one post to kind of assess it for a few reasons. One, it's in a spot where I want it to be protected from the afternoon sunlight. And 2, eventually I think I'm going to remove all my grafts from their rootstock because I came across this information just the other day. And I'll do more. I'll do an episode on it in the future because I have some questions and more experiments I want to do. But this is interesting because it looks like a Hylocereus rootstock can affect the flavor of a Selenocereus megalanthus. So I wonder if it can affect the flavor of other dragon fruit varieties. So in time, I believe I will remove branches from this graft and grow them into the soil. And in fact, on number 8, I've already done that, but on accident. So let me go show you my last one, number 8. And here is number 8 that I'm assessing. So this one has also been grafted for about a year, and it was much larger, but we had some strong winds and I didn't tie it up, I hate to say, well enough, so it broke 3 branches. I have one in the greenhouse. I gave one to a friend that I trust and won't sell it or anything because it may end up tasting like garbage anyways. We gotta wait, until it produces fruit. But then this piece also broke, and you can see it's already rooted. So it's really rooted well. It's a piece of Orejona seedling number 8. You can see it's just got some beautiful new growth. So it's kind of growing like a seedling, but pretty soon it will produce like normal looking branches, I would say. So pretty amazing what you can do with grafting to speed up the process with your dragon fruit seedlings. So there you go. Give us a like and a subscribe. And that's our journey with our 8 seedlings. And I may not keep those ones that aren't doing so well. I have so many varieties. If it doesn't grow well, I don't feel the need to keep it. But part of me just wants to keep them just to see what happens. So let me know what you think. Should I keep them or should I get rid of them?